Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel and also welcome back to my first ever vlog. So yay, that's very exciting. If you can call this a vlog, I'm not sure if you really can because I am not a consumer of vlogs. I watched a few in preparation of filming this one and honestly I found them a bit cringy. I found them very unpalatable and that's not exactly what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to do here is that I have several thoughts throughout the day that in theory could be worthy of their own video, but when I actually sit down to film it, they end up being like 3-4 minutes long, and that is not a productive use of my time or your time. And so I'm just going to compile all these thoughts that I have throughout the day into a single video and maybe show you a few other things that I get done during the day when I'm not at work, because unfortunately I can't take you on my adventures at the hospital at this point in time because it's against our policy. And also my friends / co-workers, they don't want to be on camera except for Brett T, and I don't want to give him more camera time than he already gives himself. And so I'm not going to do that at this point in time. So it's just going to be me at home talking things over, showing you some little things that I get up to during the day. For example, I'm going to cook a traditional dish from my home country tonight. It's not the most exciting of dishes. It's a very basic dish, but it is something new that you probably haven't seen before, and that is quite yummy. So if you want to make it, you can feel free to follow along and do so. But for right this second, I am going to go get ready for the day. I'm going to go brush my hair and my teeth and do my dishes because I didn't do them before I went to work last night because I literally just got in from work at 7 a.m. this morning. It's now 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Again, it's not so much of a daily vlog as much as it is just me rambling at the camera for several hours. But I'm going to go get ready for the day. And I'm not going to bring you with me because that's one of the things that I found most cringy when trying to see what a vlog actually entailed, is when people would pretend to wake up for the morning, even knowing they had clearly already been up because the tripod was set up and the camera was turned on. And they would do that fake yawn stretch thing and then go into the bathroom and show you how they like scraped their retainers and stuff like that. And I thought that was just really gross. You don't need to be in the room where that sausage was made, especially when the sausage in question is toothpaste flavored. So I am going to go do that and then I will be back to talk to you. Okay, I am done. It is an hour later, roughly an hour later, and I am clean. My house is clean, my dishes are clean, my benches are clean. I am ready to start cooking, and I really do need to start cooking because it's about 3:30 right about now. And it will take about 3 hours from start to finish making the meal. So if I don't start now, I won't be finished until much, much later tonight, which I really don't want because I do need to get up and go to work in the morning. So I don't want to be scrubbing dishes at 11 p.m. tonight. I want to be relaxing. But yeah, so I need to start cooking. Luckily, well, I don't know if luck is necessarily the right word in this context, but luckily, yesterday I did have to take Ash to the dentist in Dubbo, so I was able to do a big grocery shop there. Except for I forgot to get a carrot, which is fine. I technically have a carrot in my fridge, even though it's about 2 weeks old. I think it will be fine for this recipe that I'm trying to make. If not, it's really not the end of the world. I can even do it without the carrot, or I can go to one of the 2 grocery shops that we do have in town. So we do have an IGA, which is where I usually shop in day-to-day life, as do pretty much everyone in town. Or we do have a bigger Coles or Woolworths style shop, grocery supermarket, where nobody shops, ever. It is always empty, even though in theory it actually has a better product selection than Coles and Woolworths. Like, they have a lot of vegan food and specialty food and international food, and they sell clothes and jelly cats and beanie babies for some reason. You know, those little bears that drove the world crazy in the 90s. They still sell those for some reason. But nobody in town ever shops there, ever. Like, even though it is a huge shop, it is a huge supermarket, but nobody ever shops there. I very rarely go there. I only ever go there for nutrient waters because I love them. I'm obsessed with them. And they're the only shop that I've ever found that sells them. That's the only reason I ever go there. The only reason I think most people in town ever go there is just for chocolate. They have a huge chocolate section, and they also have a homemade gelati bar where you can get homemade gelati, and that is really, really good too. Like, they do this cherry vanilla one, which is probably the best ice cream that I've ever tasted in my life. but nobody in town shops there. 9 out of 10 times when I go there, I am the only person on the premises. I have never, a single time that I've been there, I have never seen anybody with a trolley actually buying food. They have a deli out the back, which nobody works at. There is never anyone behind the deli, even though they have a yogurt bar and they have an olive bar and they have a million cold meats and cheeses and salads. They have a salad bar behind there too. Nobody works there, so you can't access it. You can access the gelati because it's at the front, where the local teenagers who actually work there are always chatting to each other. So you can say, can I buy some of this? But you would have to actually, if you wanted anything from the deli, you would have to go down the front and find them and tell them to come and serve you, which I'm not that desperate. I will just go to IGA if I want to buy stuff in that regard. But they always have like hot chickens and like roast beef that you can buy. And I don't know who's making them because again, there are no adults who work there. There are only local teenagers. So even though in theory you can buy alcohol and cigarettes there, you really can't because if you try, they just tell you to come back later, which you can come back later. There's still not going to be any adults to serve you. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's like a money laundering scheme or something, but it's really weird and it's really creepy. I should take you there. Not only that, but it shares this car park with the local Red Cross blood donation center. I don't know why we have a blood donation center. There are about 2,000 people in our general region, which is about 400 kilometers wide. So we don't have any need for a blood donation center. We don't get any blood from them, ever. We never get any blood from them. All our blood gets flown in from Sydney or Adelaide. So I don't know where the blood is going. I don't know anyone who's ever been there, anyone locally who's ever been there, even though the blood donation center is open 6 days a week. So as you can see as you walk inside, it's completely stocked. There's nothing missing from the supermarket except the people. There are no people around anywhere. As you can see, we've even got old style scales. As we approach the deli, there is not a person in sight. And as we continue on, still no person in sight. I was going to stop here, but I decided to continue on because just as I started walking up this hallway, is it called a hallway? I don't know. The corridor. Tiptoe Through the Tulips by Tiny Tim started playing. And if that was not creepy enough, the speakers for the entire supermarket, they're on the back wall, like right at the end of the video. So you were walking towards the music as you were going, and it was super creepy. Because for some reason, this supermarket, they only ever play 60s and 70s music, which makes the entire experience all that much more creepier. And like I said, nobody ever shops here. If people need something that they can't get from IGA, they just drive 4 hours down the road to the nearest big town and go to their supermarket instead of coming to this supermarket. It's super weird. And then I just decided that I was going to stop at Coles because I needed to get a cucumber, and I thought that it would give you a good example of what an actual supermarket in my town looked like, so you didn't just get the impression that I was filming at the end of the day, which, by the way, there is no end of the day at this place. The end of the day is like the end of the workday. But you can see that there are people here. But I have also left the volume on because you also get to experience what it's like to be a doctor in a small town. Because the moment I walked in, I got harassed and I had to stop filming pretty early because then the lady started talking to me about her health problems. Sorry? Potatoes? I think they're over there. There's potatoes over there. Red ones. I usually have loose ones. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, there. They're there. Okay, so I am back clearly. That was a fun excursion. It wasn't something I was planning on doing today, but I did want to show you the creepy supermarket and give you a comparison to what the IGA looks like at the same time, so no one can accuse me of just going right before it closes, which, by the way, it closes at like 6 p.m. So if it was going to be busy, it would always be busy. But I'm going to start cooking now. I don't know how much of this process I can actually show you, just because, as I've said previously in past videos, due to a mild traumatic brain injury, I have really terrible dual durexity. So I literally can't multitask. If I'm like multitask with one hand, if you're expecting me to talk and walk and hold something, I can do that. But if you're expecting me to walk and talk and hold two things in two separate hands, it's a bit of a struggle. So what I'm probably going to do, and to be honest, you don't really care to see me cutting and chopping anyway. So I'm just going to put everything together, and then I will show you as I'm going through the stages of what comes next. So I will see you once I've finished cutting up and seasoning my chicken. So I have made up, can you see it? I've made up my chicken seasoning. It is salt, red pepper, black pepper, chili powder, onion powder, and all-purpose seasoning, which is just paprika and onion powder mixed together, I think. So that will go on my chicken, along with a special liquid seasoning that is from my country. I will explain more about it when we get to cooking a sausage later in a couple of hours, and I will give you a recipe to make some of that at that point, well, something as close to that as you can, because there is nothing that is the equivalent of it for you to buy. But I can tell you roughly what goes in it. I personally don't make it myself. I get it whenever Dresslevac is, well, not when we're friends, because we're never really friends. Like, we haven't been friends since our 20s, and we never will be again. But when he's not actively trying to kill me, sometimes he will give me things like that, and it lasts a long time because you only need a little bit. But just quickly before I go, do you want to see my crazy filming setup as someone who has no idea about video, how to make a video in general, and just make stew with what I have? This is you at the moment. You are up on a popcorn bin. That is my, what do you call it? I don't know, my light. And that is my tripod in its most stunning of states, with tape around it, because sometimes I can't move it properly, and so it just sits there. But you're not usually on the popcorn bin. You were usually perched up here on my markers, so I can't use them for long stretches at a time, because if that tripod moves, it takes me about 10 hours to fix it again, and I've broken it in rage quitting trying to fix it before. So now I try not to move it that much because it's the worst tripod that has ever been on the face of the planet. And me saying this, it proposes the very reasonable question of, if the lighting is so bad in this one spot, why don't I just move to one of the other 3 chairs around the table? Well, not only is that chair inaccessible, but literally every single chair at this table, except for the one that I'm sitting in currently, is broken beyond repair. And I don't mean it's broken in the sense that it would be uncomfortable to sit in. No, I mean it's broken in the sense that it would be dangerous to sit in. So this is the chair next to me that I rest a lot of things on. Look. And then you've also got this, because the cushion also comes up. So I would not put my worst enemy in that. I will, however, put my textbooks on that. So that is my Gifted Young Children textbook that I'm currently using for my research proposal. It's not really much independent research because I don't have access, but my independent research proposal for language development in orcas. Here we are finished. The rice is still cooking though at the moment, so that's alright. We'll just split it up. Some of it's for tonight and some of it's for tomorrow lunch. We're just gonna have cold chicken and chorizo tacos, but that's okay. So that's what it looks like. I will show you what it looks like when it's served up. So the final product, very nice. You've got the rice, which I'm afraid is going to be too vinegary because I tried to put a little bit of rice vinegar on top of it, and it just all fell out. So I'm concerned that it's going to be too vinegary. That's right. So you've got the chicken, the shredded chicken, the sausage, cucumber, and seaweed. And it's very delicious. Anyway, as you can see behind me, it is now pitch black outside, which should give you some indication of exactly how long it takes for me to prepare a meal and cook a meal and eat a meal and clean up after a meal, especially as in tonight's case, it is made with a tomato-based sauce, which are absolutely hellish to clean up after, but we've done it and it's definitely worth it. I very much appreciate eating from my own culture a lot more than eating from, you know, your cultures all the time. So it was well worth it, even if it does eat up a huge chunk of my days off whenever I've got time off. We found out yesterday, well, technically last night, that we have got a new doctor assigned to us through FACRM for their primary, rural, and remote training module, which I don't understand why FACRM keeps sending us new doctors. It never ends well. So if you don't know, and you're not expected to know, in order to work as a doctor in Australia, you need to be registered with a college of medicine. For example, I personally am registered with the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine, aka FACRM. Think of it kind of like a specialization, except for you can never ever change it. Or if you can, it's extremely hard, and I don't know anybody who has ever tried. But for somehow, I don't know how, every few years, about every 2 years, FACRM somehow managed to convince the clinic's owner to take on a new fellow. I have no idea how. Like I said, it never ends well, but I can only assume that the clinic owner has that condition from 50 First Dates, but instead of his memory resetting every 24 hours, his memory resets every 2 years. Like, have I ever sat down and explained what happened with Kevin Atwood? No, I don't think I have. I think I mentioned a few things in a different video, I don't remember which one, about Kevin Atwood, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down and explained what happened. I'm not going to in this one because he really does deserve his own video. I think I had intentions of making a video, I just never got around to doing it. But Kevin Atwood, he was sent partly through FACRA and partly through our medical board from our state because we had too many sentinel events. So if you don't know what a sentinel event is, it is an unexpected event that causes unexplained serious harm or injury to a patient. So we had too many of them, so they sent us Kevin Atwood to be our clinic manager, and that went as poorly as putting a toaster in a bathtub. It ended up with him pretty much coming to my door, that door there. I had the chain on it, and he was sticking his arm, his dirty, grubby arm through it and chucking chicken wings at me while singing the chicken wing song. And then he disappeared, and he is still missing to this very day. And I know what people think when they hear that story and hear how I talk about having new doctors come in. You know, oh, Casey, you should be kinder, you should be nicer and show the new doctors the new clinic. You know, you're so lucky to get new doctors out where you are. No one wants to work that far out. Like, you should give them a good introduction to the clinic. But like I said, this is not my first rodeo. I have been here long enough now to know exactly how these things play out. And as I said, they never end well. We're a tiny outback hospital, so far removed from civilization that not even Google Maps acknowledges our existence. We have to rely on walkie-talkies and CV radio because our entire town in general, not just us, though we are much worse. Phone reception out here is dicey on good days and non-existent on most. The entire clinic is run by a rotating cast of exhausted backpackers, overworked nurses who either made really poor career choices or got a really bad deal from the universe. And me, Ash, Will, and Nate, that is it. That is our entire cast. And it's part of the reason why I don't like having new doctors come in, because we're a very weird cast of characters. And I look a lot younger than I am. So every time a new doctor comes in, especially if, you know, they're a bit older, they always think that they can just take the reins and take over the clinic, and it doesn't work like that, and it annoys me. Now, in their infinite wisdom, the Fellowship of the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine, or as Nate likes to call them, the Lords of the Sacrificial Lambs, have decided to send us a new fellow, and like I've already said multiple times, it's going to end very, very poorly. We haven't even met this guy yet, and we already know this for a fact, because we know that there are only two types of people, two types of doctors who sign up to work in such a remote hospital. Well, there are three types of doctors, four, if you include Ash too, but no one else but me is being forced to work her against their will. So basically, the number one type is they've got their fancy medical training and their fancy medical theories, and they think they're going to roll up here and make a huge difference in the lives of Aboriginals, and they're going to be the white savior that everyone needs. Never works out that way. Or type number two, they're really, really bad doctors, and they know it, so they think if they try to apply to any other college or hospital where they have to compete for jobs, they're not going to get them. So at this point, it's probably too late to do anything, because I'm assuming that he's already been given the welcome package, the standard welcome package, which, if memory serves correctly, contains a map of the hospital, which, by the way, is entirely inaccurate, a list of patients who, in all honesty, probably should have died about 5 years ago, and a warning about our clinic's resident magpie, which is a new addition to the welcome package. So if you never watched my TikToks, and there's no point in going to watch them now because I don't post there anymore, prior to Brett with two T's coming and being our backpacker of the moment, the backpacker before him, one day he just walked out into the car park, but he walked down into the car park after his shift, and he got about 3/4 of the way to his car, and a magpie flew down and attacked him and ended up attacking his eyes, and he needed to be airlifted out of here to the city, and he had to have surgery, and his eye got removed. But anyway, I'm going off topic. I'm going off track. The point that I'm trying to make is that the new fellow, he is going to come in on Friday morning, and he's going to be full of 100 questions that I don't really want to answer, like, where's your pharmacist? We don't have one anymore. We used to have one. His name was Jared. He came to us through the prison work relief program. He was actually really good at his job, but then he started doing some really bad things, and now he's dead. What do you do if you need a specialist? Well, we send up smoke signals and hope for the best. In fact, even if you now just need a flight to a specialist for some emergency, good luck with that, because the Royal Flying Doctor Service now screen our phone calls. What's the big deal about room 6? Nobody knows. Don't ask stupid questions. There's a moment, and there is always a moment, when the reality of the situation slaps these doctors in the face. Sometimes it's when they first notice that our hospital's dispensary is really nothing more than a locked cupboard full of almost expired antibiotics, or maybe it's when they're in the middle of a minor surgery and the power goes out and everyone just continues on as if it's normal, because to us it is normal. And 9 out of 10 times it will be patient, because every doctor who's ever come through these doors, not that I'm at work now, but hypothetical doors, has their own patient zero. The kind of patient that teaches them that the rules that they learned in medical school mean absolutely nothing here out in the real world. Maybe it will be old Bill, who has been walking around for the last 3 months with a fractured hip, but refuses to let anyone do anything about it because he insists that it's just fine. Or maybe it'll be one of the local teenagers who has just been bitten by something but refuses to say what it was, even knowing their veins are now turning a color that should not exist in nature. We all know how the story ends. We've seen it a million times. The fellow, he will struggle through his first few weeks until he finally sees something that will make him snap and lose complete sanity. Maybe it will be the magpie flying down because it's decided to take revenge on him for something that no one else knows about, and it plucks his eyes out. Or maybe it will be that the power goes out in the middle of an emergency C-section. Or maybe it will be when he finally learns that the Plum family's horse float is also the school's local bus, and the emergency ambulance, and the occasional hearse. But in the end, he'll snap, and he'll either leave or he will disappear. It doesn't bother me either way which one happens, because in the end, it always ends the same way, which is things go back to normal, which is how I like them. It's just annoying that we have to sit for a few weeks of this before that point comes. But anyway, like I said earlier in my introduction, I have to work in the morning, and I really want to take some time to catch up on the episodes of Married at First Sight that I've missed, because I haven't watched any episodes since the first dinner date, so I want to go do that now. So I guess this is Casey signing off for the night. As always, stay safe out there, stay weird, and please, for the love of God, do not apply for a fellowship at my hospital.